Good morning, afternoon, whatever time it is where you are, and welcome to QuickBooks Labs podcast. This is the UK's #1 QuickBooks podcast. That's because we're the only QuickBooks podcast, so we get that by default. And we record monthly as we explore tips, tricks, and shortcuts to streamline your QuickBooks experience. I'm one of your hosts, Simon Patrick, the QuickBooks chap on YouTube, and with me is a panel of experts. Let's let them introduce themselves. Simon, do you want to go first?
Hi, I'm Simon. I'm the software advisory manager at Moore Kingston Smith, firm in London, based around London, and yeah, here to talk all things tech. Whoever's next?
Amazing.
Hello, Charlie.
Charlie, go for it.
I am Charlie Khan. I'm an accountant, chartered accountant based in West London, small practice, and I have a user group on Facebook for QuickBooks Pro Advisors. Come and find us there.
I love it. Go on then, Amy, go and introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, I'm Amy Hancock. I'm an auditor and accountant based in Dunstable in Bedfordshire. I'm the go-to person for audit.
Yeah, love it, brilliant. Well, thank you everyone for coming along, and hopefully we've got a few of you live as well. Remember, we go live because we've got a cracker in store for you today. There's definitely some bits of news that are going to be interesting, but I think our topic of the show is going to be the one to listen to. We're live to the world at our normal time. Well, we say normal time. We don't know what our normal time is going forward, but we've done it consistently at 12:30 for the past two episodes, so we'll see how it goes. But if you're listening back at a later time, then why not thinking about joining us live? In that way, you can get involved with the show and talk about anything and ask us questions in that chat box. Furthermore, we're also live on the podcasts and services around the globe, which goes live first Wednesday of each month. So feel free to subscribe on your podcast service of choice. Tune in each month for a dose of QuickBooks fun. Right, okay, let's talk about what our first topic is going to be. And I know Amy's pretty excited about this one, so let's go straight into it. Let's use this fancy new overlay that we've got, and let's see exactly if we can get this to actually work. Right, 20 seconds, go. Okay, so CIS. CIS has always been an issue for people out there when it comes to QuickBooks. And the main issue has been about that little annoyance where you've actually have to send those statements to your clients. And previously you had to sit there and actually send them one by one, but not no more. We've had a great update, and that update means that you can go and send your CIS statements in mass. People are celebrating in the streets about it, but is this an update that's going to be worthwhile? Let's find out. Oh, it was going so well. I mean, right, everyone. So let's talk about this. There's been an update to CIS. There's been more, hasn't there, than just the update. But what's everyone's experience so far? What's their frustrations prior to the update, and what do they like about the new update? Who wants to go first on this one?
I think I'll go first.
Go for it, Amy. You're the one excited, and we are excited that you're excited. Go for it.
So we deal with a lot of subcontractors and contractors. And for the last, how many years has it been since CIS has been here? Maybe 4 or 5 years. We have had to sit and export PDFs of every single subcontractor and email them separately to each subcontractor of what their statements at the end of the month. And finally, QuickBooks has answered my prayers and given us the ability to email directly from QuickBooks. Obviously, we've got to put the email addresses in for the subcontractors. So this is the first month I've used it. and it's been swimmingly. You're allowed to select multiple and send statements at the same time, and it will alert you if it's failed, which is great. Some of our subcontractors we won't necessarily have email addresses for, so because we don't act for them. So it's notified me when it's failed, go in, add in the email address, send. And it's been a time saving, massive time saving. So yeah, I'm happy. I'm a happy bunny.
So let's see it in action then. So let's go back to where you would normally find it. So I go to the taxes area, the CIS section. I go to a previously submitted return, press view return. And now I have this button over here that I can tick and press send statement. And that's pretty much the update, right? Was there anything else though that I missed?
Couldn't see anything else. I mean, it seems like a really small thing when you put it like that, but it's a massive time saving. When you're dealing with 20, 30 subcontractors and you're having to email them individually their statements. Yeah. So this will save us hours a month. So for those that are working with contractors, it will save them a lot of time. I couldn't see anything else. One little thing I would have liked, which is a select all button at the top. Because at the moment where you've got multiple, you have to individually select them. But that is the only thing, yeah, up there. Having that would be great. But apart from that, all swimmingly.
Love it. Love it. Awesome. Anyone else got any feedback on it before I delve into my feedback? Simon, you have anything you want to say to it? Stunned silence.
I was going to say, the only feedback is why it's taking them so long. Sorry, I was talking to myself.
Yeah.
I thought it was stunned silence. I thought it was like, wow.
Wow.
Almost as excited as me.
Charlie, I know you don't have any CIS clients, but what do you think?
I was just going to say I'm probably the only one of the four of us who has never seen a CIS statement in my life. So I've never, ever dealt with subcontractors. So it makes not a jot of difference to me.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Thanks for that, Charlie.
I mean,
No, but overall, it isn't really.
They're allowed to develop tools that aren't valid for me. There are other accountants of the world. I am aware.
Thank you.
Is it because it's some holidays that they're allowed to use that time to not develop something for you? Okay,
yeah.
okay.
The rest of the year, they need to work on stuff for me. Yeah.
Well, already in our firm, it's made a difference. We're already really happy with it. I agree with you, Amy, about the lack of just being able to select all. I think that'd be a great little update just to go through. I didn't even think of that, but I think you're right. That would work. My only frustration I have at the moment is, and tell me if I'm wrong here, but I have no way of customizing what gets sent to the client, or the wording or anything like that. And I just feel like that's a little bit where if they'd have just asked us first before this came out, we would have been able to all put the feedback in. Love it. Thank you. Again, like Simon says, why is it taking this long?
Yeah.
But just being able to say what you would like that experience to look like when it gets sent, I think would have been valuable. Because at the moment, I know it's going to be really difficult. It's such a small screen. But at the moment, we get this big worded email that's come through that we have no control of whatsoever what it says. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It's quite a nice email, right? But I think for the majority of us, just having that opportunity to put what we would want to put there and tweak it maybe, or change it, or put anything else in there, I think is quite important. And the fact we don't have that is a little bit frustrating. And I think also, I assume that the reason this hasn't happened is because we're all being migrated to the new reporting standards and the new reporting pack. But the fact that this export PDF is what the client gets, which is a fine report, but this report here isn't a CIS contractor, is it? This doesn't, this isn't a like a contractor statement, if you like. This is, well, it's just a report that QuickBooks has generated. And I think, again, if we're going to be really nitpicky, ideally we'd want this to replicate what a CIS statement looks like, right? Because then everyone's going to make it easier. Then they all understand, oh, this is a CIS. Instead, at the moment, they're like, oh, okay, it's not difficult to do, but you've got to kind of put it together and figure it out yourself and everything else. So, yeah, I think for me, they're the two nitpicky bits. Has anyone else got any thoughts on that?
I think the format has always, from QuickBooks, has always been a bit iffy. Most of the statements that I've historically done outside of QuickBooks, or I get when I'm doing my subcontractors, are going down rather than across.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it
In that
spells
HMRC format, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So, and I think we've mentioned that before, actually changing the format to be more like everyone else's, so people are used to it, would be great. Or just giving us the option to have it that way.
Yeah. And we don't know for sure, but I imagine that's where the new reporting advanced features, the enhanced ones, I imagine that's what's going to give us the flexibility to do things like that. At least, if you kind of go by what our expectations are of this new report package in the report area, hopefully that means there'll be more flexibility to do things like that. But yeah, for now, sending it out like this is fine, absolutely no problem, but it'd just be nice to have that option to send it, like you said, like in that HMRC format. So yeah, but it works well. Huge time saving for people, so we're all happy with that. Thumbs up. Yeah, and I think for me the frustration is the fact that, well, clearly they, because CIS hasn't had an update for a while, right? So this is the first update we've had in a long time. So clearly, some resource has been put into let's make the CIS experience better. But I feel like if they'd just given us an opportunity to have that little bit of feedback, I think we could have just smashed this out of the park. So yeah, but we're still grateful to have the opportunity to have this here. So wonderful. What's the comment saying? Kirsty says, hi everyone, might miss end of this as a client afternoon tea party today. So yeah, enjoy yourself, Kirsty. Enjoy yourself out there. Cool. Brilliant. Anything else on CIS, people, before we move on to our other update?
I think it's just a case of add all those bits we just talked about, and it might be the same level as other solutions in that space.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Because it is one where, I mean, I don't know if this will ever happen, but if I had an opportunity to have a wish list of like magic wand, wouldn't this be nice if the CIS element could be in the mobile app experience? Like,
yeah, you're speaking to me. If my subcontractors could raise their invoices through the mobile app, a dream. Yeah. Also, the ability when we're using external receipt capture products, not mentioning any, to be able to have the CIS within those as well, rather than having to go into the bill to generate the CIS deduction each time.
Yeah. And I feel like that's too much for us to ask for, if I'm honest, because
I know. I've got one.
CIS,
I'm not asking for any more for a while.
No, I think both. I think all of it, because I mean the problem we have is that CIS is so UK specific, right? Like it is just our problem. It's just us that has to worry about it. And I just have this feeling that they were able to build the CIS product as they are, but I think that's one of the things that, and it's definitely one of the reasons why we get late to the party in some updates, because CIS and VAT takes a while for them to adapt the American version to be compliant for UK. So yeah, and hopefully, fingers crossed, with these new updates they're bringing in and they're trying to kind of streamline everything, hopefully that means that they can have those updates quicker, because if we could have that mobile experience, I think would be very, very happy indeed. All right, cool. Let's go to our next update and see what we can talk about there. Let's roll the intro and go through for that one. Okay, then everybody. So, I How's this one? Right. Okay, everyone. So we have an update for you regarding a reimagined payroll connector by QuickBooks. In a nutshell, the payroll connector to QuickBooks will soon be updated with several improved features, which is definitely one of the pain points we already have. PayPal transactions can now be auto-imported and reviewed before they hit the books, which will be an absolute dream. We can get more detail about the PayPal transactions, and the fees will be tracked completely separately as they are before. So I think this is going to be a really important update for anyone who interacts anyway within PayPal. At the moment, it's been really difficult for us to get the data from PayPal into QuickBooks in a clean and concise manner. So hopefully this update will solve all those issues. Can't wait to hear about it more. All right, team, who uses PayPal so far and who's had those problems already with getting that data in? Simon, do you want to go first? You're nodding your head.
Yes, and it's horrible. Or it used to be. It's even worse when they had multiple currencies. That was
Yes.
even.
Whoa. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So yes, this improvement needed to happen, especially as they're offering PayPal as the payment service as well. So yeah, splitting of the fees and stuff like that, and having a decent feed is win in my book.
Yeah, I mean, anyone else go into kind of speculation and everything? Anyone else had problems with PayPal in the past? I know Charlie was talking off camera about it. Weren't you just avoid it like the plague, right?
Yeah. I mean, I have used PayPal over the years. I've been forced to use PayPal occasionally over the years. I absolutely loathe PayPal. I think it's a horrible, horrible company. I've never understood why it succeeded. They're impossible to deal with. It's a nightmare. I can't stand it. Absolutely cannot stand it. Yeah. I blame Mr. Musk. He's one of the founders. Despite driving one of his bloody cars, I still blame him.
Amy, surely from your point of view, every time you see a PayPal control account, you must shiver as an auditor.
Oh, yeah. It never works. Have to download everything into CSV directly from PayPal and have to go through it line by line, looking at the fees, looking at everything. Personally, I don't have, as my accountant role, I don't have many people that use PayPal, but the audit role, and it just never gets reconciled. It just gets left.
Yeah, it's frustrating, isn't it? My only fear about this update means that, again, it's back to what we've just talked about with CIS, right? Like we're the UK, we have a VAT, we have CIS issues, all that sort of stuff, which means updates take a while to get to us. And this particular update is coming in the app area. And I don't know if you guys have played around with the app area in the US. So basically next to the banking screen, there's now an app connector. And historically, you could bring in things like Amazon and Square and items like that. And basically, this update is going to bring PayPal as one of the connections that you can make through from there. Once that connection works, it's a really good experience because those, instead of having to use third parties or anything like that, you're getting that data directly into QuickBooks. And that's why they're able to make sure that it's got more detail on there, and you can have more fancy ways in which we can get the detail in correctly, and it can reconcile and all those beautiful things that comes with it. But we don't have that app connector, and we've not had any news really of when that app connector could be coming to the UK. Our assumptions are it's because of VAT, it's because of all that mess that's coming through. So yeah, that's my only downside from a UK point of view, because I don't know when this would come, and I don't know if we would be seeing this anytime soon. Has anyone played around with that app connector in the US at all?
No.
It looks good though, right? Like, I don't know if you've seen it or not, but it, the idea of it looks good.
Yeah, I like the idea. Yeah, the idea is great. Let's see it in real life.
Yeah, 100%. So it's coming to the UK, US at least. It's on its way. It's going to be there. Will it come to the UK soon? Probably not, if I'm being completely honest. But that could be one of the reasons why we push for it more, right? Because suddenly it's solving a lot of issues that we have, and this could be a good way of doing it.
The interesting was that it doesn't do multi-currency at the moment either. So that might be the other thing that only deals with US dollars at the moment, which is why we might be delayed.
That's a good point. Yeah. And that's not an easy fix, right? Like, multi-currency is one of those.
That's been the problem the whole time. I mean, like, if you have clients with a PayPal account with multiple currencies, it imported everything in your base currency regardless of what it was, wasn't it? And that's
and there was no way of distinguishing it, was it? It was literally just it was coming in.
Do it manually, then that was the only fix, wasn't it?
Yeah. And there are certain third parties out there that apps that you could connect up and have a relatively nice experience with getting the PayPal information in. It was just extra work there, wasn't it? And it was exactly. Which we don't want.
It's those connectors that QuickBooks needs, like things like a better PayPal one, a better Stripe one, all that sort of thing, because that's what businesses are running, right?
100%. And I know that they've got one SaaS acquisition all done and dusted. I mean, that was a while ago now, right? Is that the answer for stuff like this? Do you think that's where they should really be pushing all the connections like this to? Because it almost feels like the one SaaS stuff comes in a different channel to the rest of the stuff. And, ideally we want it all in one place. If it's going to be the app drawer that's next to the bank account, fine, thumbs up, that works for me. I think they need to decide where that extra information is going to come through. Otherwise, we're going to have your banking screen, your app screen, your sales commerce screen, and there's going to be all these other places, right, where we're going to connect things around.
If it's a bank account, like if you're going to treat PayPal or Stripe, which you should as a bank account, it needs to be there, not hidden as an app. Because all you want is a feed, right? That's what we're after.
Yep.
So it should sit in the banking app, in the banking screen, not hidden under apps.
100%. Any more for PayPal? Are we thumbs up, thumbs down to that functionality? We forgot to do that for thumbs up. Oh, thumbs down by Charlie. No, that's a.
Sorry, I was thumbs down to PayPal generally. Yeah.
Charlie doesn't buy anything online.
I buy everything online. I've never been to a real shop in my life.
Okay, and just quickly going back to the first update, CIS update, what are we saying? Thumbs up, thumbs down to that?
It's like 95% of the way there, I think.
Yeah.
I'll say yes, even though I don't use it, because I can see that it's very good.
Yes, Charlie.
I see that
just
it's good.
Appreciated for other people, aren't you, Charlie?
Yeah. I'm generous like that with my concern for other people.
I love it. Okay. There's a quick update from America, because just so everyone knows, QuickBooks themselves released a QuickBooks Online new features improvement for August 2024, and they started with because it's back to school month, there's not very many updates to worry about. So this section was always going to be short and sweet. And one of the few updates they come, and I'm not sure how I feel about this, is they're giving accountants the opportunity to earn revenue share with QuickBooks Payments. So QuickBooks Payments in the US, the opportunity for you to be able to make sure that you can deal with everything within QuickBooks. So you can get the payments element directly in there, and you can have this really nice workflow of making payments directly in the product, getting it sent off, and pushing it from there. And a way for QuickBooks to kind of incentivize the accountants to recommend this seems to be because there's going to be some sort of payment share element to it, some sort of referral thing. Is that something we want in the UK? What's everyone's thought on that? Because I'm a little bit about that.
My head.
Let's go first.
Isn't it just going to open up a whole ethics thing of client accounts and all that sort of stuff that you don't really want to get involved in, right?
Yeah. And maybe I'm wrong, but I can't imagine it's like a massive amount of revenue here. I don't think we're talking massive numbers, but is it worth it? What's anyone else want to say?
I'm not a fan. I don't know whether it's a UK versus US thing or what, but I mean, the second you say to the client, "Oh, you should use QuickBooks Payments," and then you say to them, "By the way, I need to tell you that I'm making money off it." The second there's a problem with it, it's like, why did my accountant recommend this thing, which he's only doing to make money?
Yeah.
I don't think it helps.
Very good point.
I'd rather recommend it not make any money off it, so that if there's a problem, it's nothing to do with me.
Is it going to be like a client account kind of thing? is it going to be, if it's a client account kind of thing, can of worms?
Yeah, true.
Or if
true.
it's just a referral fee, yeah, like Charlie said, if you're recommending it and it goes wrong.
Yeah,
I don't know if we recommend things anyway without getting any money for it, and it goes wrong.
We don't have much insight because it's all US based, but at the moment it says accountants who sign up the clients for QuickBooks payments can earn 20% net revenue on their client payment processing fees. So it's a small element of a small amount, right? Like, I don't know. I don't see what obviously from QuickBooks point of view, it's so that we would maybe push it more, but I think, like Charlie said, I think we'll push it less, right? I think if anything, it'll be too much of a can of worms to open for us to go down. So
yeah, great.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, the idea is good though. You know, the fact that QuickBooks internal payments, you know, going through all the workflow, that bills page will have already has in America, right? Far more functionality than we ever have had. And there are third parties out there that can do that for us. So we're not shouting out for it as functionality now. But it is a nice one to kind of bring in. So yeah, interesting. So I don't think we're that fussed about that coming to UK anytime soon, are we really?
No. Other software vendors have tried similar sort of things like years and years ago, and I've always said no. It's just a bit of a weird grey area that you don't want to get involved in.
Yeah, exactly right. Cool. Well, that's it for updates. It was short and sweet, to be honest. CIS definitely the one that we're all excited for, and we can't wait for that to come through. And we'll see about the others. We'll see if they'll come along and be improvements to us. So let's move on to, before we do move on to a bit of an update for you in terms of, we finally have some top trumps cards coming. So anyone who doesn't know and doesn't know about my other podcast, Ask the Accountant, we've had some top trumps on there for a while for different guests that have come along. And our wonderful 4 people that are on the screen now have their own top trump card that will be debuting at the Manchester Accountex. So if you are going to Manchester Accountex, do get yourself down to the Ask the Accountant stand and ask us for a QuickBooks Labs one. And, you know, for everyone who comes along and asks for it, I'll make sure that you get all 4 of us. And keep an eye out for us, because one day, if you see us in the street or something, get us to sign it, and they'll be worth millions down the line. That's how it works. I promise you that's how it works. Get yourself signed one. And I've had no fallouts this time when putting these top trumps together of the scores that I've given everyone. So normally,
I mean, I looked at it and went, it's a bit hard, but it's a bit late now, isn't it?
Yeah, printed. I wanted more on Bants, but a little bit more on Banter, but that's okay. It's all right. I was above 5, so it's okay.
I thought I was very fair on this one. I definitely, there was another card we're releasing on Manchester, with debuting in Manchester, and I was harsh on that, and I do regret that one, but like you said, it's too late now. They're printed, they're ready, they're good, and keep an eye out for a shiny version of them at some point as well. So if you want to collect some QuickBooks Labs tops trumps, they're options. If we next time QuickBooks do an event, we'll make sure that we get them out there as well for that one. Cool. So yeah, that's just a quick update there. So let's talk about top topics of the show. Charlie, did you say you've got the information there about a new product that's been launched by QuickBooks? It doesn't get more exciting than this, does it? Go for it.
Oh, this is really exciting. So, I mean, a lot of you will know that QuickBooks has had QuickBooks Self-Employed for a number of years, which frustrated a lot of us because it was kind of a separate product. It wasn't part of the QuickBooks kind of hierarchy. You couldn't upgrade from QuickBooks Self-Employed to the rest of the QuickBooks Online suite. So they are now launching QuickBooks Sole Trader. It was they were talking about calling it QuickBooks Solopreneur for a while, but they're calling it QuickBooks Sole Trader. It's in beta. I think it launches in beta next week. I think told this morning, and it's going to be in beta for 6 months. So pro advisors can, I don't know, they're all pro advisors, but I think most pro advisors can contact their account manager and see if they can get signed up to the beta. And then it's free for the duration of the beta for 6 months, and then it will be £10 a month, including VAT. So £8, what is that, £8.66 or something? And there'll be wholesale billing as well. So I guess half that price, that kind of thing. if accountants buy it through their wholesale billing account. But free for 6 months in beta. I've sort of seen early iterations of it. It looks pretty good. There's a few things I'd like to see changed, and maybe when I go onto the beta next week, they will have incorporated some of the suggestions that I and other members of the Accountants Council have mentioned. But I mean, the main purpose, of course, is for the constantly pushed back but always impending MTD for income tax, which is now coming in. Is it 2056? Has it now been put back to? I can't remember. I'm joking, obviously. Is it 2025, 2020? Yeah, 2025, and then and then the threshold drops the year after. So I mean, MTD for income tax is obviously definitely coming, and QuickBooks Sole Trader is the product that's designed for businesses that don't need the full functionality of QuickBooks Online. As you know, as I said, it's very cheap. So 866 retail wholesale billing on that. So it'll be a very cheap product. My kind of feedback that I had for Intuit when I was looking at it early is it needs to be incredibly simple for the sole trader to use, because the whole point of businesses like this, I mean, if they are big enough to be VAT registered as a sole trader, then I've got them on the normal QuickBooks anyway. I've got them on, you know, Plus or Essentials or whatever. And we're interacting with them throughout the year because we're charging them sensible fees, because we're at the very, very least working on the VAT return once a quarter, but usually working on them monthly. Yeah. Whereas the idea with sole trader, if they're turning over 30, 40, 50,000 pounds, 60,000 pounds, whatever, below the VAT threshold, typically at the moment, where they're sending us a spreadsheet once a year, that's the only time we interact with them. They send us a spreadsheet, we do the tax return, and then maybe, a couple of times we'll contact them again, in July to make sure they pay their second tranche of income tax, that kind of thing. And maybe we'll answer the odd question, but we're not interacting on their bookkeeping throughout the year. So it needs to be simple enough for the client to use. And that's certainly the aim of the product. It is, and it looks like it does what the client needs to be able to be straightforward. So I'm looking forward to trialing properly in beta from next week.
Awesome. Any more feedback from anyone else before we kind of bring it on screen or anything? Was that the price point we were expecting or surprised about? Go for it.
I was expecting a little less. I don't know why. Maybe a little bit less. I'll see what wholesale discount they give. Do you think it'd be 50%, Charlie?
Well, I don't know, aren't they typically 50% wholesale?
Yeah, they
remember,
are.
is it?
Yeah.
Typically 50%. Well, I would imagine it'd be the same, but I don't know. But bear in mind that's 10 including that. So 866.
Yeah, that's true.
If we're buying it, if it's a sole trader's not VAT registered, then it's costing them 10 quid, obviously. But if we're buying it, then 433 if it's a 50% discount.
Yeah, maybe I'm being a little bit harsh, but I'm thinking of it in the sense of, obviously we're going to be doing quarterly submissions, and I know I'm thinking about the price point with doing that as well as their bookkeeping. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what it looks like.
Well, I mean, you mentioned Sorry, Amy, I interrupted you.
I said if it's simple to use, it'll be quicker for us to do it, so it won't cost us as much. We won't be charging as much. So yeah, I'm happy to.
I don't know if anybody on here has joined the HMRC's beta or whatever they're calling the trial for MTD for income tax. You on it? So I mean, I don't know how much work you're doing, Erin, on the quarterly filing, but I mean, I've probably mentioned on this podcast before. I've certainly mentioned many times over the last few years on Accounting Web and various other places that my view of the quarterly submissions on MTD for income tax, and it's backed up by my conversation I had a few years ago at a conference with Jim Harrer, and also with a guy whose name I've forgotten, who no longer works at HMRC, but he was the head of MTD for a while, is that the quarterly submission will be 10 seconds work. It will be, are you still connected to the bank? File, and that's it. I won't be looking at the numbers. I won't care about the numbers. I'm just going to hit the submit button. I don't think there is any requirement from HMRC to check the numbers on a quarterly basis. You're just verifying that they're signed up to MTD and they're doing the stuff. Because unlike MTD for that, of course, you're not paying tax based on that quarterly submission. So obviously, when you sign the VAT return for a number of years now, there's an extra box you've had to tick saying, I certify. I don't know what the wording is, but something like I certify that that this is correct to the best of my knowledge, etc. Which is as it should be, because you're paying tax based on what you submit. But MTD for income tax, the quarterly submission, All HMRC are wanting to know at the moment is, are you signed up to a digital piece of software? That's all they're asking for. It doesn't matter what the tax is. The only difference, or the only significance of putting in the wrong numbers, is that the estimate, which doesn't mean anything, will be wrong. Well, the estimates will be wrong anyway, because they haven't, there's no requirement for accruals and prepayments. If you've got stock, there's no adjustments for stock. None of that stuff is going to be done anyway. So the estimates are nonsense. So my view of MTT quarterly filing is just click a button once a quarter, done. Until someone tells me I'm wrong.
With £10.
I'm happy with the £10 then, because it's not going to cost me anymore. Good price.
Simon, what's your thoughts on it?
I have one thought, and this might help with the £10. Is if you're self-employed and you're not VAT registered, but you are CIS registered, you're kind of a bit like, my dad's a plumber. He is CIS registered. He would fall straight into that self-employed thing, but he can't use that. So he's going to have to get, that's the kind of thing I thought would be included. He's not VAT registered, but he is CIS, but he's going to have to get this VAT registered version of it to get CIS, which doesn't make sense.
I can never see VAT becoming part of this, because that's the whole point.
No, right? That makes sense. I get VAT shouldn't be part of it, but I think CIS should be.
Yeah. And maybe long term they'll be looking at that, but I imagine that's a big ask, because again, CIS is such a trick. It's not built directly into QuickBooks, is it? It's like a bolt on, if you like, for the UK. So I wonder if that's kind of one of the conversations that would hold it back, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. But I think if they want, because you would know more, but quite a lot of those contractors are probably self-employed. So if they go online and go, I want something for my self-employed, I'm just going to get that one, aren't they?
Yeah.
And then it's
you would have expected. Yeah. Because this is ideal for those sort of clients, right? The simplicity is what it's all about. So, just so we've seen it on screen, this on screen here is the US version of QuickBooks Self-Employed. And we've seen this before. We kind of looked through this before in more detail. So do go back to one of our previous videos to have a bit, I think it was 3 months ago, Charlie, 4 months ago, something like that we looked at this in a bit more detail on here. Yeah, so go back to 3-4 months ago to kind of go through it in more detail, but just so everyone can kind of understand what your expectations would be. A really nice dashboard, very similar to what we've got. We don't have a dashboard like this in QuickBooks Self-Employed, so it was nice to bring that over. The transaction page, I don't know where my transaction's gone now. This is not very useful, but in fact, that actually brings up the same problem we have QuickBooks Self-Employed, where as soon as the transactions disappear or your connection fails, you lose the information that's there. That's what QuickBooks Self-Employed has, isn't it? Which is one of their biggest flaws with the system. Potentially that means that's happening, because this definitely had one connected at one point. I'm not logged in for a while. It's obviously disconnected. So yeah, interesting that those have all disappeared. I just wonder if I can manage connections and see it there.
Well, the Sole Trader product is a different product. They built it separately. Yeah, so I'm not sure that from what it was and what the Americans have. So I'm not sure that we'll see from next week when we actually get the beta. But I don't believe us. I mean, obviously that would not be good if it disappears, just because the bank sync disappeared. Because the bank sync disappears for all sorts of reasons, all the time.
Yeah,
nothing to do with Intuit. The Barclays, I think it was Barclays or HSBC had a thing recently where they all had to be reconnected from scratch because Barclays changed something at their end. So yeah, that would not be good.
Yeah, it's a bit frustrating if that's the case though, because I've definitely had one connected to this before, because I've shown it on. We saw it a few months back. And now it's not connected. But if we could see it, the nice thing about this is just how simplified it is. It's one long thing. It uses AI, machine learning sort of capabilities to be able to automatically assign them for you. We said at the time that the only kind of question mark we had about that was, how do we know which ones we've quote unquote reviewed or looked at compared to ones we haven't? And that was always a bit of a worry about how that's going to go. So hopefully those will go through. You get a nice invoicing section, and it's based on the brand new invoices as well. So we've got the fancy a new invoice screen where we can kind of see what the invoice looks like as we're developing it, as we're putting the information on, which we really like. And then it kind of goes through taxes, reports, mileage, and banking, and all that sort of stuff. I assume we won't get banking services in the UK, but customers and goals is a nice little feature. I assume one day it'll connect to MailChimp, for example, and you get more insights that way. That's what they're going to go through from there, and you can put it through that way. So that's what we're expecting to get. Very, very similar. One big is worry the right word. One big issue is not the right word. Okay, one big question mark that I have is we've still not seen what the accountant experience is like. So yeah, our biggest benefit we have with this compared to QuickBooks Self-Employed is the fact that this solution, we as the accountant can go in just like you can on any other of your QuickBooks Online accounts, and we'll get some extra features, right? Like us as the accountant will be able to change the chart of accounts. We love that. That's, you know, we're going to do that for the client, and then they can go and post it as we want to, as they need to. But my concern is because we've not seen that experience. One of the features they've said we're going to have an opportunity to have is bank reconciliation as an accountant. Now, that immediately is like, wonderful. We love that, you know, bank rec every single time. And, you know, if you're going to do quarterly submissions or however it's going to be, probably as a bare minimum, you want to reconcile the bank, right? And then that's going to be what you'll put together. My only concern is that we've not seen how that bank reconciliation is going to go. And at the moment, the client can just throw any old information they want into QuickBooks Self-Employed or whatever it's called now, QuickBooks Online, QuickBooks Solopreneur, whatever. Yeah, whatever it's going to be called. But how's that experience going to be for us? How are we going to be able to reconcile? Because I think, to me, that's the critical bit. And to date, I don't think the accountants have the option to connect yet to see how that's going to go. So, I mean, what do people think? What's your expectations for that whole process to work?
Well, I mean, I would have thought the whole point of the beta is to have the thing live that we can use, and that they will and they will constantly seek feedback from the users. I mean, my guess is they're limiting the beta to not all pro advisors. I don't know how they're limiting it, but they're going to want feedback. It's the whole point of a beta. You know, unlike a sort of an early stage where people need feedback without actually using it themselves, just having a look at various iterations. Here we are actually going to be using it in, you know, as a live piece of software, and we can give real world feedback as to how our clients feel about it, how we feel about it, and what changes we'd like. So I assume that's the idea, because initially it wasn't going to be launched, I think, till November, December time. So the fact it's going live next week, which is still August, I suspect is to enable those feedback to be incorporated before a calendar year end go live, or, you know, January, February go live. Yeah.
But I mean, has anyone used Self-Employed much, or did you kind of like look at it and then never touch it again?
I didn't like it because it wasn't part of the hierarchy. I didn't touch it.
I looked at it. On Self-Employed now, currently on Self-Employed, they do it all themselves, and then I'm exporting it into Excel and doing an old school set of accounts that way.
Yeah, exactly right.
Not using the reporting that Self-Employed gets. I think when this comes in for a lot of mine, like Simon says, I've got a lot of subcontractors. I'm going to be doing it all. Basically, a lot of them don't even have their own bank account, business bank accounts. So there's going to be a lot of business and personal. I'd like to see, like say, bank rec, the grouping for the categorizations that we've got on the bank feeds, with the reclassify, all those little tools. I would be really disappointed if we didn't have them. Because I want to be able to just go in, do this, and I'll have to do the 3 months. I'll probably do it more regularly, and press the button to go. I'm used to all these little tools that we've got now in all of them, so I'm hoping they featuring this as well.
Yeah.
Can I ask you, Amy? So if your existing small sole trader clients, they're not VAT registered, I'm putting aside the CIS requirements for a bit. Do you bother producing a detailed set of accounts if they're not doing the data themselves, even in a spreadsheet? Because for those kind of clients, I would just do a 3-line turnover, costs, profit. Check that their costs, you know, that the costs are reasonable, there's no disallowables, and then file a 3-line tax return. I
mean, I tend to go into the detail a bit more because they don't have a clue throughout the year. So I probably won't go to the extent of doing the balance sheet. Not going to lie. No, exactly. I wouldn't do a set of accounts for them. I think maybe one or two want them, but I will go into the detail more rather than do the 3-liner. They like to see.
I certainly wouldn't do a balance sheet. I mean, a balance sheet for most of them is irrelevant. I mean, they don't have debtors or creditors, most of my small ones. So the bank is a mix of personal and business anyway. So a balance sheet would be meaningless.
Yeah.
Okay, so Charlie, in that situation then, if you were given the option to reconcile, how would you, in your mind, see that working from an accountant point of view? Because that's my fear at the moment. Because for the right reasons, they want, and you've already said this, right? They want this to be so simple. Like you just, as the client, you're just saying that's an expense, that's income, that's expense, that's income. Like let's really simplify this. So from our point of view,
well, no, they need to decide what type of expense, obviously.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, you want it to be that simple. That you don't want to be having to put all these like QuickBooks Online can be complicated, right? And can be really complicated for people to use from time to time. How would you expect them to reconcile if it's all being just dumped into one bucket? Because that's what's going to happen, right?
Well, so what I would assume, if you're syncing the bank, you start with an opening balance, in the same way you will with QBO, and then if every transaction, even if they've got a mix of personal and business bank accounts, as if they're syncing those bank accounts up, and let's say 60% of the transactions are personal, they'll flip them into personal, but QuickBooks will track what the total of personal expenses is, so that it knows that the bank balance has been reduced by those sums. It won't ignore them, otherwise you'd never be able to reconcile. And in terms of categorization, I would think you probably wouldn't want the ability to change the chart of accounts, which you suggested earlier. I think if it's that simple, you probably just want them to have the headings that are on the tax return, because you need to match them to those headings anyway. So what's the point of creating 100%. A bunch of other headings if they're the kind of client and the kind of business that wants to track their profit and loss in detail? Then they're either going to be more capable of doing that kind of work themselves, in which case they can use proper QBO, or they're going to want to pay for us to do more of the stuff for themselves, in which case, again, they can use proper QBO. I see this product, and as I said, I've yet to test it properly because it doesn't go beta till next week, but I see this product as for those clients who simply need to fulfill their tax compliance requirements and nothing else. They're not looking for any information about their business, because to them, their businesses, or at least their how well their business is doing, is how much cash have I got in the bank? That's it. Have I got more cash this month than I did last month? They're not tracking anything else. They've got no debtors, no creditors to worry about. Oh, I need cash flow forecasts for the future. It's really, really straightforward, and they just need to fulfill their tax compliance needs. So for me, it's keep it as simple as possible. Only have the options to do what the law requires them to do. Don't give them options for personal, detail, because they won't want to.
Yeah, and I do agree with that. I just and giving us the option as the accountant to do chart of account just makes sense, right? Because for most clients we won't bother, but then there'll be other client where we're like, actually, let's just give you a, I don't know, third party fee or something, just so that you know where to put whatever it's going to be, right? But
I would like one thing I would say is I would like the ability, though, as well as having trading income and costs, because I do have a couple of clients where they also have maybe one property they rent out, and their rental income is incredibly straightforward. They get 12 payments. If they've got one property, they get 12 payments a year of exactly the same amount of money, and there's maybe 10 or 15 items of expenditure a year. To be able to stick that in there and have that out of the sole trader pages of the tax return and into a rental page, or at least to track it somehow, so you manually put it into the rental pages, whatever it is we need to do. But I think that would be necessary, even if it's not immediately available in beta. I think that's necessary to be able to use it for clients properly.
And we covered this on the last video, so go back to see how it worked. But the actual way that you can put gross enough income is really clever on this. So they make it so that, say you've got 100 quid that comes into the bank, if you put that you've received 120, it will automatically say, right, okay, what's the 20 quid? And it just works much better than at the moment. They have to do fudging, right? They have to put to a control account and move it to here and all this, that and the other. So they've nailed that bit. So for rental properties, if they've got like a service fee or something being deducted, it's going to be brilliant for them, because they'll just
but is it tracking that? is it tracking rental income as rental income rather than saying, no income, that's sole trader income? Does it understand that there's two different types of income?
You'd have access as a chart of account to set that up for them, wouldn't you? So you could put this to rental income for
but
them.
then when MTD comes in, yeah, I mean, that's the bit, yes, as to when MTD comes in.
Well, MTD, you'd have to have 2 licenses, wouldn't you, in fairness? That's the annoying thing.
Would you?
At the moment,
Well,
yeah. They want.
What,
yeah.
so you're saying you'd have to have 2 QuickBooks sole trader files, one for rental and one for...
At the moment, they'll change it before it goes live, but at the moment, as it stands at the moment, you have to have both 2 different ones to be able to
that'd be
track.
impossible, because that would mean syncing the bank twice and then analysing everything twice. That'd be insane. And also, I don't know whether MTD requires you, for example, to file within the quarterly filing your bank interest received. Now, was it only rent and sold? It's only rent and sold trade that and then the 5th return of the year was the final tax return equivalent. Is when
I imagine at some point they're going to want dividend information, all sorts, right? Like later down the line. But at the moment, it is purely just.
I think it's. Dividend information anyway. I think HMRC and the Treasury are going to move eventually to dividends having to be declared live and registered with HMRC live or within a short period. Not back to the old, ATC, what was it? Advanced Corporation, ACT. I get my acronym the wrong way around. The old advanced corporation tax filings, which were an absolute nightmare. I'm old enough to remember them. But there'll be a requirement at some point in the next few years to file dividends live.
Yeah, dividends RTI. Can't wait. That's going to be fun time for everyone, isn't it?
Hopefully not quite such a tight time frame, but yeah.
Simon, any thoughts your end?
Not that I really get involved in self-assessment, but I would have thought something around user rights might be key. Like, yes, let your client do the bookkeeping, but not file the return. Taking that element away from them, I would hope is in there. That's not. Which is that? Yes, that is there, or no, it isn't there. I don't know.
Not at the moment. But yeah, you're right. It needs to be there, right? Because at the moment, it's just one. Well, again, we've not seen the accountant side yet, but at the moment, the one user signs up and that's it.
Yeah, exactly. So I get, like, obviously people can sign up directly and do their own thing, but if it's coming from an accountant, you want to be out and you're doing their self-assessment, you want to take that a bit like the accounts filing in working papers. End users doesn't have that, do they? So they need to figure that bit out for tax, I think, as well.
Yeah. And
the difference, I would say, the difference there would be a bit like VAT in that if both the client, so within QuickBooks, both the client and the accountant can file VAT, but they each need to file and have set up a sync with HMRC using their own. Well, for us, the agent, whatever they call it, and for the client. So therefore, and both of them would have to be set up because they're each filing. The fact that we've connected the client through our agent, Whatsits, to HMRC, the client can't file doing that because they haven't logged in as that user.
But they can connect it. That's the thing. The client can still
but is that a problem? If they connected and file it, as long as we're billing them monthly and you're not waiting till the end of the year to bill it, and then we do all the work, they file it and they don't pay us. I think if you were setting somebody up on this system, you'd be billing them monthly. At least you'd be sensible to do so. And then if they file it at the year end, that's their own account. They paid us. They're stupid if they want to file it themselves. But that's their problem. The system will know that they filed it. We haven't filed it. So if it's wrong, it's their fault.
So my final bits before we move on, and it's more of a question to you guys, right? At the moment, if we look at feature parity between self-employed to what this is going to be, we're missing receipt capture, which I assume will come at some point.
Needs to be there. Yeah.
Why? Why do you want receipt capture?
I think receipt capture is huge for this. I think this is
massively. I've been in the front of my dad's van. Needs receipt capture.
Yeah, 100%.
For what purpose?
Well, what do you mean for what purpose? Like, you've got all these thousands of receipts lying around in self-employed.
Well, okay. So I would say if you're paying cash, then you need some means of getting those numbers into QuickBooks. If you're doing it through a bank account of any sort, which increasingly happens more and more now as people tap and pay, then you've got the bank fee, puts the numbers in. Because there's no VAT, you don't need to provide evidence of a receipt. You don't need the actual receipt. You can keep the pieces of paper in a drawer if you want to, in case HMRC really were bored enough to want to look at receipts. But unlikely they're going to want to at a trade that small. So is it really necessary?
I would say it just gives
Clearly,
them that
I'm in a
confidence,
minority
right?
here.
Yeah. I think that's one of the big selling points of QuickBooks Self-Employed, right? It's that idea that, or any QuickBooks or any of that, is that idea they use their camera, take the photo, it gives them that comfort blanket, right? They don't have to think about it now, it's done. Yeah. And I do feel like that's quite a big part of it. The mileage part in QuickBooks Self-Employed is the only one that automatically posts their potential deductions for them. And I've not seen that properly working yet in here, but I think that's a must, right? That's a must to put it in, because having to do a journal entry, or you can't even do journal entries in this, but having to do some sort of adjustment to put your own mileage claim in is really tricky and really kind of asking too much, isn't it? And then the only small bit I would say is what I do like about QuickBooks Self-Employed, if you have used it, is that you have that nice little graphical area of seeing where transactions are put in. So you can see how much income, how much expense on that transaction page. So useful for just spotting if clients have missed periods or they're up to date or anything else. It's not perfect by any means, but it is just that quick way of being able to see, oh, look, they've only done 6 months of this and they've not done the other 6 months, having that sort of feedback. So I think those bits are the bits that I'm hoping will come through at some point and come there, because I think what we have to make sure is that Self-Employed in this version feature parity from day one. I think otherwise people aren't going to move over.
Yeah.
And would everyone be expecting to see work papers in this product as an accountant?
No.
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 No?
No. Complete overkill.
Really?
There's no balance sheets. I mean,
there is a balance sheet
for this point. Well,
there is a balance
maybe offers it, but why on earth would you bother? I mean, really, what is the point? I mean, again, if the business is, has got a pure business bank account, they're reconciling stuff and they want to do it, but if they're that focused on that thing, then you want all the features of QBO proper.
But remember, work papers only for us
I get that. I get them.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't do work papers for a client who hands me, whether years ago it was a shoebox full of receipts, or for the last few years I get them to send me a spreadsheet once a year. I don't do a set of working papers. I go through and analyze the spreadsheet as a P&L, put that onto the tax return, and that's it. Obviously I do a review and I check that things make sense and I compare to, but I'm not doing a proper set of work papers. No way.
Yeah, fair enough. And what about apps on this one? No?
Possibly, I don't know.
Oh, if you have receipt capture, then no.
Yeah, exactly. So at the moment, that's probably all you'd want to connect up, isn't it?
Maybe some e-commerce stuff, potentially,
eBay.
like Etsy, maybe, that sort of thing.
Yeah,
should be included.
And we don't know if these are being considered, but that's what we would probably
so.
love to see, wouldn't it?
Isn't that the biggest growth in self-employed? I'm sure I read something around that the other day.
Especially now there's that new eBay and HMRC are talking to one another, so more people are being caught now than ever before. So this could be a nice way. Yeah, if they sell more than £1,000, they get reported. HMRC will report them, sort of thing. So
I see.
This could be a nice way to make those sort of people have opportunity, right, to be able to file it without having to go down a load of complicated bit. So cool. So we'll find out next week by the looks of it. Get ourselves in the beta, put ourselves in, see what it's like. All right. Oh, there we go, I'm back. If it's anything like the current American version of this, then the way that I signed up is just as a user, not as an accountant. So we'll see how that comes in. And even on my American profile, I can't add a solopreneur account to QBOA at this point in time. So we can't see what that accountant side looks like. Because again, for me, that's the bit that's the most important for me to be able to promote this and push this. We need to have confidence that as the accountant, we can have the functionality we're expecting to see. And see what the reconciliations are like, because I'm a little bit nervous about that. Cool. Any more people before we call this a day? Any updates or anything that you've seen in QuickBooks? Any social media posts that you want to talk about that people have found frustrations or anything like that?
Well, last episode we talked about the round of approval column that suddenly appeared.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's now appeared in the side menu as well.
How's it?
What?
Of some accounts, as you do. Not all of them though, which is weird. And it might have disappeared again by now, but it appeared on the left-hand side, and there's a tab called Workflows, which when you then clicked on it, it came up and said, I took a screenshot of it because it might have disappeared by now. It said Workflow Automation down the left-hand side, and then
Well, that's a US thing. That's definitely in the US product. Yeah.
I said this was a UK product, so
Yeah, no, I know.
it's
I'm saying they've obviously copied that across. Yeah.
It's expanding from our what is this doing from last episode into what really is this up to?
Because I did play around with approvals after the last one, and the whole
In
approval
advance,
process and everything is working in that way, like we assumed it would do. So that column does definitely work from a an approval process.
But I think as we speculated that someone might have pressed the wrong button last time.
Yeah,
and I've gone back into it today, and they've now disappeared.
Oh, it's disappeared again now, I think.
Yeah. So someone's playing with something somewhere. So I think approvals are firmly staying in advanced. Sorry,
Advanced
for the time being.
Yeah. But on a similar note, I mean, I'm looking at a supplier. So just going into expenses and suppliers and clicking into a supplier now. A couple of months ago, they launched a thing where when you go to it, it offers, do you want to sort of save a default column headings within the supplier report? You're aware of that? Came out with that little bit. If you pick on a supplier, so I thought, well, that's
here,
nice.
yeah.
So
this bit there,
not that
down here, isn't it? That one.
No, not that. No. So if you just bring up the supplier list, so if you go back, I could pick on a different supplier. Maybe I have to go to it. It would do. I can't. If you just click on us, right? So you got are you in an advanced product at the moment?
I am, yeah.
Yeah. So just click on any supplier. So I was getting a little pop-up appeared on the screen, effectively asking me if I wanted to save basically prompting me to click the little small cogwheel just above the list of transactions on the right.
Yeah.
Yeah, prompting me to click that and then saving them across. And what keeps happening is no matter what I do, and I always turn off payee, for example, because at the top of the screen here, it says Baker Street Accounting at the top of the screen. Why do I need to waste real estate showing me Baker Street Accounting on every row? And yet every time I goes back, Baker Street Accounting, the supplier name is always in there, which is infuriating. So it's not saving what you tell it to save.
Oh, you've got the pop-up.
And choose how the rows look. That's all it's saying.
There you go. Yeah, and it's not remembering it.
Oh, right. Okay. I get you.
Yeah.
Because back to that approval process, this is what it looks like when the approval thing. So it is working, and it is there, and it is doing what it needs to do. And approval status.
Weirdly, that column is still appearing in lower levels.
Yeah.
But they've now removed the menu from the left bar.
So under workflow
that menu there appeared in essentials for a couple of days. That's now gone, but the column is still, your approval status column is still there.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
So yeah, very interesting in that respect.
We will keep an eye on that on approval watch. We'll call it 2024.
Approval watch. Which features are getting turned on and off randomly.
Brilliant. Anything from anything else before we wrap up? We're all good?
No, we're all good. I think it's everything.
Yeah.
Excellent. Short week, but that's a short month, should I say, but that's how the cookie crumbles. Charlie, how can people find you?
Yeah, find me. So on Facebook, if you guys are on Facebook, join the QBOA user group of pro advisors. We ask questions, discuss issues, moan, praise, do what we like. And it's a very, very useful forum for pro advisors to discuss anything QuickBooks related and occasionally things that are not QuickBooks related.
I love the group, but I'm not sure you praise all that much. I think I think you're clutching at straws there, Charlie.
Well, we do it. No, I will take issue with that. I have on a number of times said, "Oh wow, this has been lost, isn't it? Brilliant."
Okay, fair play to you, fair play. Simon, how can people find you? Anything to promote?
Nothing to promote, but you can find me on LinkedIn. That's it. That is my one pitch.
Simple. Amy, how can people find you, and what would you like to promote?
You can find me on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. I've got my own named pages, Amy Hancock FCCA. And I don't have anything to promote at present, but I will do in the next episode.
Oh, tease. We like that. Yeah. We like tease. I was going to show you the top trump cards, but there they are. One sec. Give me a second.
Oh, this makes me happy.
So final bit of promotion from ourselves is here is a sneak peek at the top trumps card ready and waiting for Manchester. So again, come find us at Manchester. Get yourself a top trump, get it signed. One day that'll be your retirement fund done and dusted. Awesome. Cheers, everybody. Thank you very much for coming along. Thank you for our wonderful panelists to come in there. Thanks for all the questions. Kirsty says, yay, top trumps over on Instagram. So thanks for that, Kirsty. Thank you very much. We're excited as well. And give us some feedback. How did you like it? Did you like the fact that we're at a different time? Does that work for you? Does it not work for you? Put the comments in below. Let us know. And also let us know how you think the new shorts are going. Are they worthwhile? Is it worth us spending 20 seconds of me messing around and getting it wrong to give you that bit of insight? Let us know below.
Brilliant. Buy Charlie a better webcam as well for the next episode.
I love it. It's great. I finally, Anyway, whatever.
We'll get a GoFundMe page.
You can't talk, so you're a permanent blur, but that's for obvious reasons.
That's because you don't want people to know where he lives out there.
Even the camera is saying we don't want this guy sharp. No. Let's save our audience.
Well, I'm excited to find out what Amy's teasing for next month. So make sure you tune in, possibly live. That'd be the best place to do it. But keep an eye on socials and we'll go from there. So it's a goodbye from me.
And a goodbye from him.
Me.
Goodbye.
Cheers, everyone. Cheers. Bye.